right. Welcome to the GovCon After Hours podcast, episode 5. Our title for this one is Behind the Bar, Mixing ROI-Driven Investments in GovCon. And our topic here is going to be ROI on strategies, so investing wisely to propel your GovCon business forward. All three of us here are business owners, and this one is going to be a good episode. Great timing for the end of the year, kind of lessons learned. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, Miss Lisa Shea Mundt, who is one of my personal favorite people, both in GovCon and just in life. But Lisa Shea Mundt, in her professional world, is the co-founder of the Pulse of GovCon. She brings over 13 years of specialized experience in federal proposal development, procurement strategy, and market trend analysis. Throughout her career, she has successfully contributed to billions of dollars in contract awards across numerous federal agencies. And in addition to her proposal and market intelligence expertise, Mrs. Mundt is a sought-after training facilitator with deep knowledge in BD, capture management, proposal management, and orals coaching. A recognized thought leader in her field, she frequently provides expert commentary, content, and analysis for industry publications and professional associations. In fact, this year, you actually released your first book, which is amazing. So all of you guys joining us, Google that and check that out. It's gotten amazing reviews this year, Amazon and otherwise. But outside of that, she also has quite the education behind her with a BA and an MA from James Madison, so JMU. But she's also currently in her PhD program at GMU, so George Mason here around the DMV. And beyond that, if she ever has other time, I know she has little babies at home. And on top of that, she does alumni chapter stuff. She's president-elect of the Women in Technology. She's also, again, at the Pulse doing all the day-to-day stuff and at all the events that we go to and doing all the other cool things like the podcast. So Lisa, thank you for taking time out of that kind of schedule to join us.
Well, thank you. I hate introductions. It feels so ridiculous. I'm like, me. And then it also is sort of reflective of, the time that I'm spending doing things. But no, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And what are you drinking? So I've got Pinot Grigio, which is a switch up for most of my life. You have?
Mine's a gin and tonic. It is my drink of choice. It is perfect for, I would say one of those networking events when I have no more F's to give.
Yep.
So perfect for the holiday season.
I have a book for that.
And Miss Desmore, what are you drinking?
It's actually, I have a lemonade and blackberry Crown Royal. It really is very refreshing, and I live in Florida, so we stay light and fun.
Oh, so jealous. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and kick us off with the first question and point for conversation. So, Mrs. Mundt, looking back at the past year, what were some of the key investments you made for your business? Things like the conferences, the panels, and how in the world do you measure ROI for success in general? Because it's super hard. It's so subjective, right?
Right. Absolutely. First and foremost, every time you call me Mrs. Mundt, my response, I always want to say, that's not me, that's my father, which doesn't make sense. Point of reference. I'm like, ew, who? But yeah, let's jump right into it. So key investments making into the business. Now, look, small business, small firm have been for the last 7 years. We're microscopic. We have 3 people internally. We have some 1099s that we use. And the thing about me that people know is I do not like to spend money, period, point blank. Now, there are caveats in this data set, right? When it comes to some personal stuff, my CPA husband will tell you, no, that's not true at all. But when it comes to the business, I really don't like to spend money when I don't need to. So when it comes to key investments, there's monetary investments, and then there's also the time investments. To your point, talking about all of the things that we choose every single day to spend our time on, those I've had to get a lot more, I guess, particular about what I'm taking on. And that's been a part of my personal and career journey and growth that I've been at odds with myself, because I'm so used to saying, yes, yes, yes. Of course I want to do that. Of course I want to go to that. Of course I want to help. Yes, you want me to do a training? Happy to. Put me on the stage. Let's go. And I've had to get a lot more just discriminatory about what I end up taking on, because time is as much of an investment as money is in a lot of ways. So from the investments for our firm in the last year, I decided to start investing my time in things that mattered to me, more so than that I thought would have a return on investment from like a strategic sales perspective. And that in some ways helps because it protects my peace, because even though I'm working for missions and for reasons that I care about and value propositions that I might not be able to align with normally. And so that's helped. But I will also say, by aligning myself with these people that are very like-minded, I have had a return on the types of clients that I've come across. So I feel like if you're doing something that you care about, and my example right now is the JMU Federal Dukes Alumni Association. I'm the communications chair for that, and it's a bunch of like-minded alumni that want to encourage federal growth and the type of people in the funnel that come in through JMU to go and work in and around the federal government. And I love that mission. And I didn't join it to gain clients. That's not why I'm there. However, having done good work around other people that have seen what we can do, I have had people turn into supporters. And so there has been an ROI. So now measuring ROI from any investment, though, is going to be such a case by case basis, right? And it's going to depend on who you are as a firm and your size and what your role and responsibility is. Sometimes I've had to say, yeah, a good return on that might not have been closed business, but it's call it a non-tangible. It's in a relationship that I've made or I've developed deeper that I might have had previous. So yeah, I mean, it's really dependent.
Yeah, I think non-tangible is the best way to put it, right? Because half of the shit that we do, it doesn't immediately result in a tangible sale or whatever, but it's investment in brand recognition. It's that employer branding. It's all these other things. And sometimes, in fact, this conversation for the rest of the world came up. Lisa and I were talking about end of year taxes, revenue shit, like doing all the strategies for your business. And she was like, damn it, I have to chase down these in kind donation things from all like your speaking engagements and stuff that you have done over the year that maybe you weren't paid for, but like still matter. And a lot of those things I find until like sometimes speaking engagement 2 or 3. And my favorite thing is the gifted authority. Like you'll get a few random sales out of it, but 2 or 3 in, honestly, the sales get easier from random cold people because they go back and see that content, and then the gifted authority kind of translates. And they're like, "Oh, I saw your podcasts, or I saw this, or I did that from the last couple of years. Like, we'd love to work with you." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, this is awesome. But in that year, I would have been like, "Oh, we didn't get shit from doing that."
Right.
So, and Robin, is that also your experience?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it's in all different contexts and different conversations of everything. It is almost impossible to do the ROI, but at the same time, you go, okay, so I spent $10,000 facetiously on going to this event, having this booth, doing this particular thing, and I got nothing. And then I spent nothing to speak at this engagement and got, everything. So the ROI is definitely, obviously, off balanced in pretty much my entire life. Except everything. I'll be very honest. Okay, so, and I appreciate everything you said, Lisa, because it really, as we go on with this bigger conversation, and it's extremely important because me and Caitlin did have many conversations about how do you know when to invest, even in the networking. So, like, where are the investments, particularly even in the networking sides, that you didn't get any ROI on it, much like I was just talking about, but how do you decide whether or not those are, again, to focus, or, how do you include them in your budget? Because that's also a big piece of what we continue to keep talking about, decide whether or not to do this or do this if you only have this small bucket.
Right. And look, the budget for some of these events and networking and conferences, it's getting out of hand. And that's why I'm so glad that we're talking about this today, because I think especially for small businesses, and especially in government contracting, federal contracting is all about peacocking. And you know what I'm talking about. Yep. Here are my ruffly feathers. Look how beautiful this is. Look, we're at this event. We're at the gala. We're hopping here. We're doing that. We're sponsor. And it's like, there's a reason for doing it. Now, look, I'm not a marketer, but I do federal sales, and there is some conflation between the two. And so there is something to be said about that, like a brand identity and about recognition and about fostering trust just by somebody knowing you. I get that. But if you're a small firm, people always are like, oh, are you going? And I was like, no, I can't afford a $500 ticket to dinner. Like, and I said before, I also don't like to pay for anything, which is why you'll see me frequently on social media being like, who's going to help a girl in to this event? I'm a fabulous dinner guest, and I have no problem saying that, okay? Yeah. So if it's going to get me to the event, I would rather do that than pay for it. So yes, of course, there are events where there's no ROI. There are associations where there's no ROI, but also everything is what you make of it. And so let's say I'm an optimist. Let's say I'm a gin and tonic half full kind of person. You know, I would say even for the events that I go, and you know them, the $100 dinners, you get the chicken, you sit down, you talk sometimes to the same 8 assholes that you talked to last time.
Yep.
But those assholes, so to speak, like, you're still fostering a relationship with them. You're still deepening something, a connectivity and intimacy with another individual that might be intangible at the time, but could lead to something later. And I have more thoughts on this that I want to get to later too. I will say, when you pull out of something though, when you stop, when it comes to investments in some of these things, as soon as it feels like an organization or an event should be paying you, that's when you pull back. That's been my sort of rule of thumb.
Yeah.
That's actually really good. I mean, a really good thought process. Because I'm very sure many people don't think that, and obviously, many people are You're fantastic. You can work a room. Lisa, I'm gonna be very honest, very much better than me, because I'm not. I can gravitate and have conversations with just about anybody, but it's not my first natural thing to go up to. Hi, how are you? Unless I am bold and maybe a drink or two in. Then I will go talk to just about anybody about anything, that could possibly be out there. But in the end, it still winds up being, how do you utilize that and then build upon it? Because it's not that easy. And Caitlin, I know we've had many of these conversations about, like, okay, so from here for an hour, what should I be expecting?
Right.
For 5 hours, what should I be expecting?
Yeah. And the tickets are astronomical, Lisa, to your point, right? Like the fucking gala shit, it's like anywhere from $500 to $750, $800 a fucking person. The tables, 5, 10, 15,000. And then all of the amazing associations and shit both of you guys are actually a part of. And then you're like forced into sponsoring those tables on top of everything else. It's like, get out of here. I was just talking to Teresa Moon this morning about going to the 8A in New Orleans. And whether or not it's fucking worth it, because it's $650 or $700 or something per ticket. Now the flights are cheap as shit. All the other things are cheap as shit. But also I was trying to think to the ROI and all the breakdowns of stuff. How many 8As do I have? How many 8As hit well for me? Like, would it? And Robin's not going this year, which is a big hit for me because I prefer to do the pack thing, the pack mentality. Just in general, it works better for me. So, because I can work a room, but like I get fed up and give zero fucks real quick. So I need someone to be like, no, we're going to this thing and that thing, get the fuck in the car. No, we're doing it.
That's when you balance out. When you go individually, it gets very tiring. But Caitlin, one of the favorite things that I do, I like going with other people because of that. You help balance each other out. And there are sometimes you want to talk to somebody and I'll just sit back and drink my drink and let you talk, and vice versa the other times, And then afterwards we can talk about what the whole thing meant and who everybody is, and then kind of have a better, for me, those are good ROIs in the sense of, because I'm not just helping myself, but me and Caitlin are helping each other or whomever else that we're working with. And to me, it does take a good collaboration, but it also takes a lot of that trust. It also helps us avoid people that we don't want to see in certain organizations either. Like, oh, don't go left. Let's go right. Let's figure out the other pieces.
I love this.
We're totally digressing, and I apologize, but it definitely has a lot to do with how much is it worth, right? And I can't even tell you how many people is it worth it? Sometimes I'm willing to put out the money for it, but it still doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah. you know what? You're never going to get this down to a science, and nobody is. And people do, and they try to do everything. They try to turn everything subjective into some level of objectivity. That's why ROI exists. That's why they're like, well, what did we close in terms of sales based on the things that we went to? But really, you don't know who's going to be there. Even if you do know who's going to be there, you don't know how they're going to react to you. You don't know how they felt that day. You don't know if they're going to stick around, if you're going to catch them. I mean, every time that we go to an event, it's a gamble. And that's what we're all doing. And we're investing in a gamble every single time. And so at some point, some people have more to gamble and more to lose than others do. So that's sort of where you split the difference.
Yeah. I also think, back to kind of like evaluating what may be a good fit for you and your business at any season or growth point. So is there, like, in terms of the origin of new business for you over the life of yours, mine has certainly changed. Like and I talk about this all the time because people will say, oh, wasn't it so fucking hard the first year? No, that shit was gifted AF the first year. That shit was just relationship capital that I couldn't fuck it up. Like, but year 2 or 3, like that sucks. Like that was much harder. It was a different kind of sell, a different market, trying to break into shit, figure out your services, recurring revenue, short projects, the type of client that's good for you, the type that fucking sucks. Where you fit in all of that. So for you, what has your experience been with your business, Lisa, in that, and kind of where does the new business come from, and how does it change every year for you? Like, is it like that, or is it just me?
It's so funny that you say that, because I think when we started, it was like, how do you get business? And it's like word of mouth. And now it's like, how do you get new business? And it's like, people saw you on LinkedIn, and then I did a cold call with them, and I either convinced them or I didn't. Yep. And honestly, 7-8 years into this, I'm tired, and I would always rather do a referral than a cold call. And I think that my tactics in my salesmanship have changed. I think I used to be very eager. I used to be like, how can I solve your problems? And now I'm like, if you don't think I'm an expert, why are you wasting my time? Because you inquired for me. I think so much of my sales is external parties inquiring with our firm. And I'm like, you did some semblance of due diligence, and you have come to us to ask some questions. I will give you the answers, and you can take with it to do what you will. And I think that's why I love the referral so much. Yeah. I love a word of mouth. I love a repeat customer, and you speak with them differently, right? Like, I have some new clients right now that seem absolutely lovely, but they're not my old clients where I get on and I can be like, so nobody wanted to talk to me last night, right? I guess that's why nobody sent me an email response. And I can't do that with a new client, and I can't do that with a new relationship yet. Maybe we'll get there. So what I'm getting at is this, like, once you have an established relationship, or you have the referral from established partners, I always prefer that, because you have somebody else's stamp of approval. You don't have to work as hard. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of cold calls that come through, and I have the rigmarole that I have to do. And a lot of it is like, hey, honestly, a lot of it's like flirtation, right? I haven't been in the dating pool in 16 years. So I don't actually know what it's like, but I imagine it goes something like this. Hey, I saw you at an event. You seemed smart. Thanks, I am smart. How can I help you? Nothing, just wanted to connect. Talk to you later. Ghosted. Fine. Next year, the same person will reach out again, because now they're ready for business. And I think that's that long-term established trust in the sales game.
I have a fucking client, not a real client. It's a random guy. Maybe one day it'll be a client. 3 years. 3 years he keeps reaching out for the same fucking question, the same whatever. Can we do it? Yes, bro. The rates are like $10 more, but like same shit every fucking year. And every fucking year he disappears, and then he comes back, and I'm like, are we? I'm just going to keep sending you the same contract at this point.
Remember, we'll always say, she's like, she sits back in her chair, because I was like, we lost that potential lead. She goes, they'll be back. And then a year later, she's like, didn't I tell you they'd be back? And I was like, yeah, but you say that about everybody.
I love that. I gotta love it. I honestly, small businesses, yes, the organic referrals are the bloodline, right? I mean, in all intents and purposes, even for the smaller businesses that are not necessarily just consulting, the ones who are actually working with the federal government, it's also the big part of everything that they do. So I'm going to ask this question, and this is, just because it's just us on this call and with some drinks with us, and what's not being talked about right now. And I might caveat some pieces of this because I know there's a lot of things happening right now for a lot of different reasons, but like, what are the dirty parts of it? I mean, because we need to talk about things that aren't being, I want to talk about things that aren't being talked about, but we need to talk about things that aren't being talked about. But even more importantly, are we acknowledging the things that are out there that should be talked about? And we can have it in a closed door conversation, but in this open conversation, which while it is the three of us and, God knows however many people are listening, what does that look like for you? Because I have my own versions.
Right. And look, there's a reason that we're entrepreneurs, and it's because we are otherwise unemployable. We do not work well within the confines of other corporate structure. Every couple months, Amber and I look at each other and go, God, wouldn't it be nice to have real jobs? Like, but then I can't imagine having to watch the things that I say. So honestly though, yes, there are dirty parts to the industry, and we've made our brand on saying it no matter what, like unapologetically. And I think the one that we've danced around here in this conversation is clicks. The click of GovCon.
Ooh, I was going to go female male, but okay, I like this. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Let's take it even
clicks.
bigger.
Yeah.
Like clicks and clicks for like the gender disparity and everything. Like there's definitely stuff there too. But I think something that a lot of people are afraid to talk about when it comes to federal contracting is this idea of clicks. This is like an insane microcosm within federal contracting. Think high school, think Mean Girls, the band geeks, the people that are just trying to make it through while staying under the radar.
Yep.
There are groups of supporters, to your point, and like the events has to do with this, right? There are groups that are supporters that become friends, and then it becomes a clique that is damn near impossible to infiltrate. And these sort of different components of the market control their own little area of it. There's history between people. We're all on the services side of federal contracting, right? Like we're not necessarily contracting with the government, so to speak. So in the realm of consulting, there is a history between you and any other consultant that you're going to come across. There is something that happened at some company somewhere that now impacts how we work today. Who gets your stamp of approval? Who gets your referral? Not everybody does. It shouldn't be indiscriminate. And, there are some people you'll find that will tell stories out of school, and there are some that won't. And it's navigating all of that within this realm of especially events. You'll notice the same people flock together. The same people go to the same people's events, and they support each other. And so when it comes to government contracting, that is such a relationship-driven business on the contracting side too, it is still something to note that whether you're a contractor or whether you're a service provider, this idea of these sort of tiny pools within our world, like they matter and they make differences to people's business.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not even going to pretend. I mean, I've been in it for 30. This is going on my 35th year, and it is one of the things that has probably been the most consistent. People you stick with whoever If you're going to an event, you're looking for very specific people every single time that you go. I have, because of this, because it is a clique, and I don't necessarily say it in that manner of it, but knowingly, I purposely go outside of it. I try as much as possible because I don't want to be stuck there. I never was in high school. I didn't want to be in high school either. I didn't want to be stuck with, just the same group, because you don't learn or grow from the same group of people. It's comfortable. It's helpful, but we are all barely 1 degree of separation from everybody in this industry. And it's ridiculous, especially as long as I've been there. I know I can see, if I could create a map of how everybody connects and has touched some way, shape, or form. I appreciate the fact that you can say it so eloquently, in the sense that, it's a clique. It is a clique, and people may not like the words, and you may not like the context of those statements, but it is what it is. And there's no way around it. I mean, to be very honest, there really isn't. It's being willing to talk to others, hear what everybody else says. I mean, that is truly, from my perspective, what I have learned the most. Especially, joining the board, the MBSBC board, has given me a different perspective, not necessarily because of the board itself, which it has. It's more of, I'm a veteran. I've always been a veteran for most of my life, it feels like. And I all of a sudden took a different initiative to find out more about what that veteran community actually looks like and smells like. Because they're in a whole different set. They're on their own little clique, right? The military people are on clique too. And, how do you keep inner focusing and bringing the best up? Because that's actually what I want to get to, is bringing the better people to the conversation to actually have better connections and better conversations and just betterness, as opposed to the same old.
Yeah. I would say, so I love the clicks part, and it's the best way. I always say GovCon is like, I love the backstabbing drug dealing, but it's clicks. That's exactly what it is. But you have to understand that behavior and the group think and the dynamics and the JVs and the contract history, or the people fucking history. I was just at a networking thing. It was a group of ladies that I've met at a number of these events, and we just went out to the Ritz-Carlton and Tyson's for happy hour. But we were actually talking about, Robin may remember this, a client that we had who has gone off and done great things in CCAF specifically. They were like, well, why don't you just go get them? And I was like, well, because they're in bed somewhere else. And I know they're in bed somewhere else. And so that wouldn't be fucking helpful, right? And so there are, not just knowing that on the client side, knowing where each company who's been acquired or not acquired or sold or whatever, and who's where and who the fuck they're using for all their service providers, because we figure that out pretty quickly. But then also, even on our side of the house, and trying to figure out who's in those small ecosystems. I know that this company always refers to this company. I don't have a shot in hell typically, or whatever. And just not being shitty about it, but I know that about the relationship. So I'm just going to keep it at bay. There's no fucking version of me that you're going to ever refer to because you're in bed with so-and-so. Not personal, not whatever. Same with Lisa. There's probably not another proposal or intel marketing company that could come in, or fucking contracts. Same shit. Everyone knows that in our world, that there's a closed set of humans that I refer to, right? Yeah. So it fucking works in every direction. Right. You just gotta know what you're dealing with, people.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that it's bad. It's just to say to open your eyes and look at it. You're going to see, we talk about events. You're going to see the same sponsors. Why?
Yep.
Why? Why do you see the same sponsors? Why do you see the same speakers? Mm-hmm. There have been things where I've been like, why haven't we been invited to speak at this? This is right within our wheelhouse. And I'm like, oh, that's why
we didn't pay them. You didn't sponsor them. Yeah, you didn't, whatever. Yeah.
Or somebody else did, and that's okay. Yes. There is still room for everybody to play. And I think once you start getting precious about your territory, that's when you have become obsolete, right? Because you're not seeing the forest for the trees at that point. But also, Robin, to your point, we go to the events, there are people that we're trying to avoid. There are pockets. There are collectives of people where we go, oh, okay, hi, and then we walk away. And I might never say something to this gentleman, but I know that I'm not going to waste my time because of X, Y, and Z.
What's funny is, and I know we're slightly off topic, and but I was talking to some of the veteran community just random conversations, which are some of the best conversations I've ever had, and they go, I want to go to an event that is the topic I want, the person I want to talk to, and the people inside the crowd with the people I want to talk to. He goes, I have yet to go to one instance of a topic that I may want to know about. And maybe it's the person I need to talk to, or maybe they know somebody. But then I wind up sitting there talking to somebody who has nothing to do with what I need to do, or could help me do whatever it is I need to do. And I get stuck with that person. Maybe because I'm new to the thing and I don't know that person is, everybody else is avoiding them. And I'm here I am with them. But, and I go, wow, you know what? I hadn't thought about it like that. And I go, I'm usually the one probably beelining away from certain aspects because I'm not good at, tight conversations. But it's ironic is the fact that I'm going, you never know who you're going to meet. So I'm looking at it like, well, maybe it'll be a good conversation later on. And is this it's a waste of my time. And this is why part of this conversation is, what is my return on investment? Because I don't want to go spend an hour, 2 hours between the travel to and fro and everything else like that, and money to be at an event with people that are not going to help my business. I love networking. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people. But if it's not a return on investment, it's a waste of my investment. So how do you deal with it? That's the crutch. I mean, obviously the whole crutch of the conversation, and maybe it's cynical of the way what we're asking it. I don't know, but I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be like, what is the return on investment? Where's the because I love the random conversations, but at the same time, I don't want to take it off of my, my downtime for me.
Right. Yeah. And like part of this is with all the things that we have going on, we have to protect our peace. And some of the piece is not wasting our time. I really do hate wasting of time. And I think that everybody starts getting smart and getting wise, knowing when somebody is a potential prospect for you and when they are not, and when it's time to walk away. And I think especially I work with a lot of like young students who are like, tell me about networking. And I'm like, ew, what do you mean? What do you mean tell you about networking? Who are you? Where's your mother? Like, get out of here.
Give me your parent. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm also 22. I don't know why you're asking me. But the whole thing is some of the things that I've had to teach are like, look, everybody knows about the elevator pitch, right? Say what you do, but not only the elevator pitch, be able to look for nonverbal cues on when people's interest is piqued. Because you can tell when somebody is interested in what you're saying and when they're not. And if somebody's not interested in what I'm saying, I cut and run. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm not going to continue the pitch if I know that that's not what matters to them. And so I think that there's teaching that. There's teaching how to gracefully exit a conversation. I've had to say that to a lot of 22-year-olds because when I started, the way that I would gracefully exit a conversation is when I'd go, up, a drink is dry, and that's dangerous. Fast. And so that can't be your go-to every time. Can't fly with one wing and then run away. So there's ways to gracefully exit the conversation too, so that you're not wasting your time. Because otherwise, Amber will tell you, I will end up sitting there. People like to cry in front of me, and I've told you guys this. They want to tell me their deepest, darkest secrets, and it's like a therapy session. So I'll be like, wait, tell me about the relationship you have with your parents. And then all of a sudden, my ROI is nowhere to be found.
Negative.
So there's skills that can be taught. And I think that it's just all goes into this wonky equation of what an ROI really is.
True. And I honestly, I didn't research it before we got on this call to see if there's a really methodical way of developing an ROI on time, your time spent on, random business development stuff that is, and I shouldn't say random. It's obviously you're trying to be as methodical as possible with how you spend your time. But I'm exhausted every day. I'm very honest. I'm exhausted every day. So to go to networking events, it really does take a lot out of me mentally.
You know what I will say? I've gotten to the point, and again, maybe this is just like Lisa tired, so have very little left to give. But I think there are red flags that we know the longer that we're in these industries, the longer that we're in our own sales funnels, where it's like, if I have to have 3 or 4 conversations with you, one, you're not going to be an easy client. 2, you're probably not going to be satisfied because you're already asking way too many questions and we haven't even started yet. So there's the ability to be able to fire even potential prospects. Like I've fired prospects where I've responded back saying, hey, I'm sorry, after our call, I don't think we're the service provider for you. And then just left it at that. And it's because of things like I can already tell that they don't trust me or they're second guessing our judgment. And that is not going to end in a conducive deliverable for either party.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, today specifically, I had a contract come back, and this hasn't happened in 2 fucking years. And it was like I wasn't even going to fucking notice. I was like, I should have called Robin. They redlined my contract and took out my deposit, took out like all this shit.
Yep.
And I was like, you literally fundamentally changed the way I fucking do business. Absolutely not. So I got on the phone with the contracts lady today. We go through all this shit, but every part of me is like, the second someone has a problem with the deposit, it's not a good client. It's not. And I've already taken the second phone call and we're already renegotiating. I'm like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? This isn't a good client.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it, girl.
You in danger.
Yes, you're in danger. Yeah. It is like that. Yeah.
It's very much like that. And it's
Yeah.
when people, and I've had people look at our contracts too and be like, well, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, well, the other 80 clients that I've had
had no fucking
didn't
problem. Not
think
one.
so.
Yeah.
So, que sera, whatever will be, will be.
Yeah.
No. It's definitely that's a big conversation. Obviously, a different conversation because it's like rolling. So once you get them, how does this all keep going on? And you don't know. I mean, inevitably in the conversation when you're meeting somebody, and you know when you jive and when people can work with you well. But me and Caitlin have always had that conversation. If they're difficult in the beginning, they're never going to get easier, and it's never going to get better. I can tell you that some of the most difficult people I have had have also been some of my biggest referrers. So surprisingly, and I just don't know if it's because you're willing to put up with a pain in the ass, or you have like grace to put up with a pain in the ass of whatever particular piece of it. I don't know. It's all of it, I'm sure, but you'd hope that it's more about what you do as an individual. And that's what we try to do, right? I'm going to be very honest. Is a return on investment. What we do as an individual. This is why I really want to make millions of dollars and be paid to be that good at what I do. And return on investment of, I made 10 minutes. I made 1,000. I'm out of here. Okay, or made 5 clients. I'm out of here. Go from there.
It is funny to bring it back to the events. I know something that you had maybe asked Caitlin right up at the front that I sort of glossed right over is some of the investment that you make into these events, like speaking and being on a panel. And when does it become not worth it anymore, right? And so I'm a bad example of this because the cost of my speaker fee is essentially price of admission and 2 drink tickets. And I'm good. Fine. If you will give me entry into the event, I'll speak at it. And it's fine. And I think that we need to get smarter about, especially small businesses, when we do have an audience, to have a call to action, to have a follow-up, to have some sort of method by which to do mass outreach to those individuals where it's not just, here's the slides, it's following up with these people. And so we've tried different approaches where we've done QR codes where in order to get the slides, you need to put in your email address.
Yep.
And so then we'll send you the slides, but now also we have your email address. So, and you have to know about the things that we're doing, whether you opted in or not, to do with the internet. And I don't feel bad saying that. It's just sort of marketing today. So having things like raffles, having any sort of other touch points with the people that see you beyond just that moment, and whether or not they wait in line. I always feel bad. Whenever anybody waits in line to speak to me, I'm like, just go. I'm fine. I'll take the call with you after the fact. You do not have to wait to tell me a good job or ask me a question. Just get me on LinkedIn. Being accessible in that regard, I think also helps encourage that natural sales funnel.
Are there any specific 2025 events or things that you're actually excited about already? I know we talked a little bit about 8As in February in New Orleans.
Yeah,
and that's
I'm really excited for the spring time to come around. There's always great events. Not plugging any in particular because I need to figure out where I'm going to be exactly.
It's 25.
It's 25. I knew you would.
In May.
That's a great one. I do love going to that. I think that is super fun. And I think that the people are just great. So that's definitely a worthwhile one because there's also so many individuals. For me, it's going to be all about the award seasons. I'm the president of Women in Technology this year. And so my term ends in May at the gala. So I will be the one making the speech, telling everybody to support women in IT fields. And so I'm really excited about that one.
Oh, awesome. What about you, Robin? Is there anything on the 2025 horizon that you've already got your eye on, or?
I'm consistent as can be. That's 25, obviously, for a lot of different reasons. I already have my booth and everything else like that. And I'm not far from you. I don't think. I keep looking at how everybody is set up, and I'm making sure I know exactly where I'm at. So if I have to move, I will. But with that, that's 25. Obviously, the soft week is always going to be my
favorite week. Until I get married again, it will forever be my favorite week.
After that, I think I want to explore different ones. In all honesty, I really do. I mean, because I've been going to that one for years and years, and I really just want to expand out and see what's next. What else is out there. I think I have an invitation to a vet. No, it's a technical one, women technical one in Germany next year, and a prospective partner of mine wants to say, "Hey, you want to come out?" And I'm like, "Sure." Why not? I mean, I'm more than willing to, but other than that, I can't find any that give me that passion. Like, oh, I want to go. This one's going to be really good and give me a return on whatever particular piece, and that make me feel like I'm not missing something because I'm not sitting where I'm supposed to be.
And you know what? It is funny because especially from a small business perspective, we're talking about return on investment. So let's say you are buying a booth and let's say you're spending $5,000 on a booth and you're spending $500 on a flight. That is a cheap flight, right? And then you're spending $500 on a hotel. And then all of a sudden you're at like $6,000 or $7,000. And based on the way that you price your deliverables, you would have to close at least 2 like actual meaty business like perspectives in order for you to even really break even. And so I do think that it really is a sliding scale based on your company, your needs, your size, and how you actually work with different clients.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a stretch. I'm not going to pretend, but I decided to do it this year and for next year and say, okay, I'm going to do 1 or 2 for the year. I am going to actually have a booth, and this is something new. So this is my 2025, strategy going up, and we're going to try something different that we haven't done to see what that looks like. So this could be another conversation this time next year about what that actually looked like and how it actually paid off, and go from there.
Let me tell you though, booths, swag, that's another expense. People are not going to come by your booth if you do not have good swag. Nobody cares. Like, you need good, solid swag that you need to purchase and have in advance, and then also pay to ship it, and then pay the people at the conferences to handle. There's a lot of hidden fees with the event going. And like we talked about, maybe you are going to the gala, then you have to Uber, and you need the dress, and you need the this and the that. Like, all of a sudden, these things can add up. But I will say from the booth perspective, look, I've sat at a booth a couple of times. It's probably one of my least favorite things to do. I am exhausted because I will ramble on indefinitely forever. And instead, what I have to do is have people and go, "Hey, my name is Lisa Shea Mundt, and this is the Pulse of GovCon, and this is what we do, and how can I serve you today?" And then wait, and then it's probably nothing, and they leave.
They're like, okay, I gotta go now. Just take this piece of candy, thank you.
Right? That's it. They're like, I just wanted the pen. God, what are you telling me about this? And I'm like, you are my captive audience for the next 30 seconds. Would you like to hear about federal procurement and how it works? No? Too bad.
You know what? We should actually have a conversation just about like what are the antics that you have to put on or having a booth to get the return on investment. Because this year, I'm going to tell you, my secret weapon this year, 2025, first time I'm having a booth there. And my brother, who is not even associated with my company, he says, I will put on a shirt and I will sit at your booth and I will meet everybody who walks by. And I'm like, you are the man. What do I need to pay you? He's like, a steak dinner. And I'm like, my kind of, pieces of it. So him and my BD guy are going to be, manning the booth for the most part. And I'm going to I'll be busy with the board stuff anyways, but I'm hoping that it will help also generate a whole different perspective about, what it's going to take. And if he does do really, really good, that means I'm going to have to travel with him everywhere and make him pay. Okay, here's steak dinner, whatever you want. Just, bring in people.
Yeah. No, absolutely take him up on that though, because to our point, I think one of the underlying messages of this podcast today is this is exhausting.
Yes.
And, like, period, point blank. I'm tired. Actually, it's too funny. So this is a digression sort of story, but my mother-in-law gives each one of the children and her grandchildren a new Christmas ornament every Thanksgiving so that we can put it on the tree for Christmas. And so in 2022, she gave me one and I opened it and I looked down and it says, "Already tired tomorrow." And I was like, ma'am, you're not wrong, but rude.
Damn.
But it is. it's exhausting, it's tiring, and there is so much that has to be done. So yeah, to figure out who can take on some of this like emotional and physical burden of event going. There's a reason that it is a job. Like that there are booth babes. That's a terrible phrase. Don't use that. Scratch the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people that they young people that will sit at the booth. There's a reason. The people that have the high energy, that are extroverted, that are able to do that where it doesn't drain every ounce of self-preservation that they have.
Yeah.
Am I telling you how I really feel or not?
No, I don't think anything you're saying is nothing different than we probably have already said and done at some particular point in time. All very, very accurate statements.
Well, I think ultimately to kind of wrap it all up and put a bow on it for 2024 and all three of us, we're all fucking tired. And if you're not tired, you're not doing it right. And no one size fits it all. Fucking best of luck. That shit is generally subjective. But if you can figure out how much your time is worth, you can kind of back your way into what shit is worth or not worth, but there's still branding and other kind of subjective things. So feel your way through it, or maybe give one of us a call for your, or actually no, Lisa, give Lisa the call for your therapy session, or find her at a networking event because you can cry.
Too real, honestly.
But with that, episode 5 was such a pleasure. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you liked us, like and subscribe. Don't leave us. Come back for all the good, gossip as we move forward. And hopefully you can watch the 2025 shit show unfold in real time while we're here with you. And with that, cheers to all of you and everyone out there in the world. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the holidays. And thank you, Lisa, for joining us.